Welcome back to Flying Vina. Today we're doing a short review roundup. Cue the music. Hi, my name's Drew. Welcome to another edition of this series. Now I'll be talking about 3 different shows today. One of them is from Disney+, 2 are from Netflix. As per usual, if you want to skip ahead to one of them, you can do that either by going to the bar below. I've added chapters so you can click on it, or you've also got the chapters and timestamps in the About section of the description below. Generally, I do them in the order that I like them, so you can tell immediately which ones I like the most. In this case, we are talking about, first from Disney+, we have got Ms. Marvel. It's their newest show in the MCU with a completely new character we haven't seen before. Second, I'll be talking about the Netflix series Money Heist Korea. Sorry, it's called Joint Economic Area, that's what it is. It is, well, we'll get to that later. And the third one is also from Netflix. It's the second season of Bridgerton, which I have already previously covered in one of these review roundups. I talked about the very first season. The second one has been out for a while. I watched it and I've got some thoughts of that too. Okay, let's jump right into it. So we'll be talking about Ms. Marvel. Now, if you know the MCU, you will know that Marvel is a name that we have heard, not just because that's obviously the name of the brand itself, but we have had Captain Marvel before, and so we have Ms. Marvel here, played wonderfully by Iman Vellani, and I knew nothing about this character except that she has sort of, I don't know, she's a bit like Plastic Man from the DC universe. That's what I thought, at least, you know, where she can make her limbs bigger and, you know, all these kind of things, and they're like elastic, that kind of stuff. To my knowledge, they've changed it up a bit here to make it fit more into the MCU, you know, and how characters get their powers, etc. But what is it about? We've got this teenager, I believe she's supposed to be 16 years old. She is Pakistani, so we've got a Pakistani family. I'll return to that in a second because that's something I definitely want to talk about. And so she is a huge Captain Marvel fan, you know, and she wants to go to Avengers Con because, of course, in that universe, the Avengers have got their own their own big do, you know, to get together where everyone comes. I mean, yeah, Comic Con's a thing, so of course Avengers Con would also be a thing. And yeah, and you know, she makes a costume and all that, and she suddenly comes into a situation. She gets from her family, she inherits a bangle that she puts on, and suddenly she is able to just conjure things up. Just, you know, from her mind, she can conjure up all sorts of objects out of thin air. And yeah, as you can imagine, things happen from there. Obviously, she draws attention to herself, and we have got one certain department, it's a Department of Damage Control, I believe it's called. We have seen them before. We have seen them in the very first Spider-Man. We've seen them in Spider-Man No Way Home. They're returning here as well. So, you know, they get wind of there being a superpowered person and they investigate, and you've got some tension coming there. We've also got, you know, we also gradually learn about where her powers come from, and that's got a backstory, and that, at least in the second half of the show, also becomes gradually more important. So that's what I'll tell you about that. I mean, this is a short review roundup, so I don't want to spend too much time, but I love that we get this insight into, you know, Pakistan. I'm ignorant. I have not brushed up on my history, so it's fascinating for me. Obviously very tragic for the people involved back then. But it was fascinating for me to learn about something I didn't know much about. So yes, and I love when shows do this. It's not, you know, it's not preachy, it's not making a big thing out of it. It's just like, hey, we've got an opportunity here to educate people and share with them something they didn't know before. And that was absolutely the case for my wife and me. You know, we were just fascinated by the whole thing, and it's done really well. Love the characters, the family dynamic, you know, Iman Vellani, very good choice. I just thought to myself, my daughter's only 2 years old, so obviously she doesn't watch it, but I could very easily see, you know, if she were a teenager, she would probably just love this show because, you know, there's just so much, obviously, high school life, which is always very stressful and dramatic, that in it as well, which is obviously great. And just the whole thing. My only gripe with it, and that is a steady thing that's happening more and more with these MCU shows, they all feel too short. You know, we just stumble into so many things in the last episodes and are trying to cram in all sorts of things. It just feels like a bit much. I feel that they need to go 1 or 2 episodes longer in future if the story's built like it is. You know, we're trying to set up so many things with just 6 episodes and a rather short runtime per episode. So, you know, we just don't have enough time for all of it. I don't know why we don't take more time. I mean, I get absolutely that there's so much money in every single episode with so many special effects, but surely we should not be sacrificing storytelling, you know, and story development just to get in some better CGI. I'm seeing comments all over social media, you know, with VFX artists complaining about the likes of Marvel, you know, putting too much pressure on them, etc., not paying enough. I mean, surely this would be a good opportunity to, you know, lessen that load, you know, get better publicity and also develop the stories more because, you know, again, I would have wanted to see more of Ms. Marvel. Moving on to Money Heist, Joint Economic Area. I actually did not know about anything about this going in. I thought that they would, you know, be continuing the Money Heist stuff, or La Casa de Papel if you know the Spanish title, the original one. I covered the full series not too long ago on my channel. You can click, I'll leave a link at the end of this video. You can click on that to watch that if you want to. I was so a big fan of that show, so I was really excited for this because I love Money Heist and I love all the South Korean TV that we've gotten through Netflix. So I thought this is a given, and it's all even got Park Hae-soo, who I absolutely loved from Squid Game. What I didn't know, but I realised very, very quickly going in, this is a remake, which I'm very disappointed about. And through my research, I saw my belief confirmed because I was like, I'm assuming they remade it because the original series just wasn't popular in Asia, and so they felt that they'll remake it, you know, obviously make some changes, and then just push that out. And it seems that their strategy is working because as far as my research showed, it's actually very, very popular in Asia where the original show isn't really known. So it's kind of good for them, I suppose, because it is a great story, etc. At the same time, if you are a fan of the original, there's not really much point watching this. It doesn't really do much. I mean, I feel that the story is a bit more streamlined, so some of the things that I also complained about, you know, them making silly mistakes, these robbers, etc., and the perfect plan, that doesn't happen here. So it feels like it's all more refined, you know, it is more strategic, the whole thing, but it also feels smaller in scale, also in terms of production values. So I'm not really fully on board. I mean, I did watch it, I did enjoy it, and I will continue watching it when they bring out more. It's just I don't feel it does enough to warrant, you know, watching both of them and being a fan of both of them. Also, mainly because the characters, they just didn't do much for me. I felt that they just didn't have the depth that the original ones had. You know, we learned a lot more about their backstories, etc. I know that, you know, this is one season and the other one had 5, I know, but even just comparing the first 2 seasons with each other, season 1 of this and that, you know, I just felt that the Spanish one was just so much more superior. So, you know, watch it if you want to just relive that, you know, just in a different place. One thing I love, also as a Taekwondo practitioner, Korea is always something I think about. And here we've got this fantasy, I'll call it, of the 2 Koreas starting to unify, and that obviously is a very, very interesting aspect of this, and that is also what drew me to this once I realised that, you know, this is what's happening. So I'll definitely keep watching it for that. That's one aspect that makes it very interesting, but otherwise, if you don't just want to see a remake, don't watch this. Last thing we'll talk about is season 2 of Bridgerton, which was to me very disappointing, for my wife as well. We really, really liked the first one. It's like, you know, I know it's not historically accurate, etc. Don't care, it was just very, very entertaining. So we were looking forward to the second season, and it's, I don't know, I wouldn't even say it's more of the same, it's kind of less than the same. And what I mean by that is we're getting more of the same, but it feels lesser. You know, because, I don't know, it really showed me that the first season was just made by Daphne and the Duke of Hastings. Those 2 characters are what made the first season to me. It was just interesting. I loved their dynamic, you know, how they got on with each other or didn't. And it just, we just feel the lack of these 2 characters in the second series. So we're going through more or less the same motions, etc., but the characters aren't really working. So, you know, we've got this cliche of 2 characters, they actually really, really like each other, they're really drawn and attracted to each other, but they're trying to sort of hide that by hating each other. And you can just see, you know, that's how it's going to happen. Other than that, the show doesn't really do many new things. We've still got, I mean, all the characters more or less that we liked from the first season. You know, the actors are obviously all really good and that, but yeah, I just hope that continuing on from here in the third one that they do change things up a bit, because if they just keep redoing the first series just with slight differences, you know, in this case it was more or less just yeah, I don't know, it was just a bit of a gender swap because we were focused on a man from the Bridgerton family instead of a woman from the Bridgerton family. Other than that, it was more or less the same, but as I said, just a bit lesser. So I do hope that they can switch up. You do get some laughs here and there. It's still enjoyable. It just, you know, if this is what the third one is going to look like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. But if you enjoyed the first one, really like that, I'm sure you'll find enough here that you will at least have a bit of enjoyment from it. That'll be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It's the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below on any of these shows if you've seen them, if you want to see them. Do you have recommendations for others? You know, I'm always on the lookout for shows that I could cover, either in full length in a full video or like here in a short review roundup. So any suggestions, please put them down in the comments below. I'll thank you again for watching and I'll see you in the next video on Flying Beaner. Take care.